Welcome to Sports Medicine Weekly on 670 The Score, your on-air resource for fitness, nutrition, and injury prevention and treatments for today's weekend warrior and professional athletes, with renowned specialist of elbows, knees, and shoulders, Dr. Brian Cole, along with other health and fitness leaders, and your host, Steve Kashul. Sports Medicine Weekly, heard every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. right here on 670 The Score.
Here we go, a brand new edition of Sports Medicine Weekly on this Saturday morning on The Score. Thanks so much for being with us, everybody. My name is Steve Kashul, joined by my usual co-host, Dr. Brian Cole. He is the head team physician for the Chicago Bulls, co-team physician with the Chicago White Sox, sports medicine specialist, orthopedic surgeon from Midwest Orthopedics at Rush. How you doing, Dr. Cole?
Doing great, Steve.
Good. I want to talk about, a popular guy. He's one of my favorite players, even though he went to Michigan. See, I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I did not like this guy at Michigan, but I have loved him ever since he started winning Super Bowls. Tom Brady, arguably the greatest quarterback who has ever played, maybe the most successful as far as winning championships. He has played 17 NFL seasons. And Dr. Cole, he will be 42 years old when the new NFL season begins in September. So playing into his 40s. How about that? And I know
it's
you
pretty
were
rare.
able to.
Has there ever been a quarterback who's been
I'm sure.
42?
I'm thinking of George Blanda. Back in the day, he was a kicker and a quarterback, and some of these guys got older. But you were able to witness him in person, right? Did he know keynote talk for some of your docs?
Yeah, I had an up close and personal hour with Tom Brady. We had our annual American Society for Sports Medicine meeting at the Boston Convention Center, and we sort of did a town hall where he sat on the stage and was interviewed, and he was operated on by a very good friend of mine. He had his ACL done by him, and it was fascinating because it highlights the concept of what happens as we age and how difficult it is to stay in shape and what you have to do given how our bodies change. And the thing about Brady is that he was 6 Super Bowls. He in the draft when he came out of Michigan, he was not a high level draft pick, and he was still sort of a boy. He was sort of a man in a boy's body, and how his body matured over time. And he's been very blessed not to have severe injury, or at least injuries of the upper extremity that can sort of end the career of a quarterback. But the thing that it makes you think about is that you compare him to his 22-year-old counterparts. I mean, above the age of 40, our metabolic machinery shuts down, our ability to process energy, performance decreases, protein production, collagen production, blood flow, toxin cleanse, all those things, managing glucose. We have different demands for proteins, amino acids, and things like that. So you have to adapt, and he's really sharp. I'll tell you, quarterbacks in general are very smart, but he's a very likable guy, and it was a great, just sort of low key. This is who I am. Ask some really provocative questions, and you as much as you love him that much more after you sit and hear him speak at that level. And he was just a really likable guy. But you realize truly how blessed he is. I mean, he's blessed in a lot of ways. Let's face it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we can talk about, but I learned a lot just listening, and it made me really think about this concept of the aging athlete, because you just don't see a lot of people over 40 because our bodies just don't tolerate it. It's hard to remain an athlete at the most elite level just because our bodies are not equipped for it, and yet he's able to do it.
Well, let me go back to, you were asking the oldest quarterbacks ever, and I think I was dead on here. So the average age of an NFL quarterback is in their early to mid-30s, and according to one analysis, the oldest quarterback ever, George Blanda, who I mentioned, was just shy of his 49th birthday when he retired. Tom Brady right now is the 10th oldest quarterback while playing. He'll be 42 years old, as I said. So other ones are Brett Favre. He was playing when he was 42 as well. Mark Brunell, Earl Morrall, remember him with the old Baltimore Colts, and he finished with the San Francisco 49ers and the Miami Dolphins. Doug Flutie was 43 years old. He played with the Bears and the Chargers. So Vinny Testaverde, 44 years old, playing for the Bucks and Panthers.
Truly, there's no one who's won 6 Super Bowls and going to be 42 years old. That's a record.
Yeah, other guys, Warren Moon, Steve DeBerg, And John Nesser, back in 1931, 45 years old, playing for the Columbus Panhandles. And then, as I mentioned, George Blanda, who played for the Bears and the Raiders, 48 years old. That's amazing.
Crazy.
That's amazing. But what did you learn about the aging athlete and these quarterbacks?
Well, I think just any aging athlete in general. I mean, I think the big issue, and it's like anything, as we age, the one thing that will cause a precipitous decline is getting injured.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, so, look, you take it to the extremes of life. If you're unfortunate to have a hip fracture, a woman who has a hip fracture after the age of 75, the mortality rate is probably, I don't know, it could be excess of 50%. So just dial that back now, having musculoskeletal injuries as an adult in a sport. That's the one thing. If you get removed from your sport because you get injured, statistically, that's the worst thing that can happen. So remaining injury-free, and Tom Brady's a great example. Yes, he's had injuries, but they haven't been the kind of injuries that don't allow a player to come back. Do you follow me?
Yep.
So that's I think the crux of it is you just can't get injured. And it's a lot easier said than done, but it has to do with good nutrition, good really religious exercise. I mean, this is their craft, and that's what they spend pretty much 24/7 dealing with. And that's out of season as well. So it was interesting to hear his training routine and what he does and how he's committed to nutrition and so forth. And I think that's really what it's all about. Just don't get injured, and you'll stay in the game.